Hi everyone, welcome to another My Life in Objects video. So this video I'm going to be looking at this programming book. Now, long-term viewers of the channel may or may not be aware, but it's become a bit of a tradition for me to buy certain things at the end of beginning of a new year. So end of the old year, beginning of the new year. One of the things is a programming book now. So this is about the third or fourth year I've now done this. I think last year I bought a Python programming book. The previous year I think it was a book on R, and I'm trying to remember what was before that, but it has become a bit of a thing for me. So this year's book that I chose, and it's not, the book doesn't have to have come out that year, it's just a programming book from anywhere, old or new. This is the most recent edition, and let me just check when this came out. This is Programming in Lua, which is actually written by the creator of Lua. So this is, originally the first edition was 2016. No, what am I saying? Sorry. This is the 2016 version, originally 2003, so I don't know how many... it's fourth edition now, so I'm not sure how much has changed since the first edition. And it's really part of a longer term project that I've been working on for quite a while now. You could say actually a number of years, because I've always been interested in comparative programming languages and exploring different languages and their strengths and weaknesses. But as part of that ongoing interest, as part of building that, I've come across this great term recently called career capital. But it's just like with me, I suppose it's broader than that. It's more sort of knowledge capital or expertise capital. This ongoing quest of just discovering different things in different languages and seeing how they manifest themselves. So as part of that, I explored Lua, because it was featured in a book I've talked about previously called, I think, Programming Language Explorations. And I'd not looked at Lua in any form before. I was aware that it's been used as a scripting language in basically, lots of different scenarios and different applications. So when the opportunity came on Amazon to purchase this book at a fairly reasonable price, and the most recent version of it, rather than a more sort of historical version, which I will sometimes do, I sort of took the leap. And I've kept this nice. It's been sort of sitting upstairs before I recorded this video, and I'm recording this video quite ahead of when I'm releasing it, because I wanted other videos to come out before it. But it's in pretty cool condition. It's literally, box fresh. I don't know if it was actually, I don't think it was shrink wrapped, but they didn't do a bad job of packaging this. I know I've had one or two gripes about the way a lot of Amazon stuff is now being packaged, and books have a habit of being able to bounce around in boxes now, whereas they didn't before. But this came in pretty good condition still, despite coming through the courier. And a ton of interesting things that I can try out here. I like the format of this. I did look at a sort of book preview before I bought it, just to make sure what I was letting myself in. I always do that. I get a rough idea of what a basic chapter looks like. So I really like this format with these books, where they go through and they sort of explain the concepts, have a few coding examples that you can sort of try out in real time, either at the command line or by saving it to a file and then running it, and then have these exercises at the end that sort of build on that side of things. And I'm planning on doing a future episode where I delve a little bit more deeply into the whole process of I suppose you'd call, what the term that I'd use best for this is continuing professional development, but it's more just lifelong learning. I know someone had asked me about the possibility of doing a series where I sort of reflect on the sort of things that I would have liked to have told my younger self, I suppose. And so I'm seriously giving that some thought, and I'm definitely going to be doing some episodes sort of around that, which look at sort of learning techniques and ways of thinking about things that I've tweaked and have been tweaked quite considerably since the advent of large language models, and definitely stuff that I wish I'd known back then in terms of structuring things. Obviously back then there were no large language models in the form they are now, but by using them it's made me aware of certain learning structures which would have been handy and can be represented in like an analog version. They don't require the presence of a computer, but using the large language models has given me, or made me aware of the fact that such things exist, and also allow me to structure learning in or develop learning structures in a much faster way. So I'm going to do a few episodes that sort of reflect on that. So hopefully by now you're getting a pretty good idea while I've been twittering away here as to the format of this, and you can see it's pretty standardized, and some of the chapters are a bit longer than others, and definitely, in looking at Lua, and in interesting and rather tellingly, it is the first language where they dedicate a full chapter to in the Probing and Language Explorations book, which I've talked about before. But I think actually, if someone was asking me what's a good language to just for a complete beginner, I would probably always tend to go for a scripting style language, just because I do find them easier to think about if you're just trying to learn the basics. And so, I learnt in, original basic, and then I learnt sort of from that all the different versions of it, and then ended up with, Visual VBS. But there's a number of languages like this, which in some ways, although the syntax doesn't look exactly like basic, nevertheless it has that certain feel to it that language had when I first learnt it. And so, I definitely, if you just want something fairly easy to get your head round how to structure algorithms in a programming language, and just this nice step on, I would say Lua is quite a good way of doing that. Now you might find yourself after that you've got to learn other languages which are a bit more heavily used, but as an introductory language I think it's actually a pretty good choice. And I know people tend to go for Python, and I think that will probably be another choice of mine, but there's something about Lua, I think they referred to as sort of batteries not included language. So my understanding of, and of course except that I have a limited knowledge of this, which is why I wanted to buy this book, particularly by the author, but I think it's quite nice to learn a batteries not included language, because you're not leaning too heavily into libraries, which end up doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think as a learner it's quite good to learn that sort of heavy lifting and how things actually happen under the bonnet, rather than just like spin up a library, or even more advanced than that, say a framework, and miss out on all that roll your sleeves up hands-on stuff that I got to experience when I was learning basic for the very first time, and couldn't really lean into any libraries at all much. So there we have it. Hopefully you enjoyed that flick through there. It's certainly a book that I'm going to be flicking through, and now I've effectively opened it up after trying to keep it really nice. So thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future episode.